What a fucking gamer move!
One, go.
Yeah, go. Oh my god! YouTube bot! Nice.
I found peace in your vibes. I've been quiet for too long.
Fuck, I whiffed! Kaden, how do I get better at aiming? And this is like literally one of the only questions I get. And you know, it's never Kaden, how's your day going? It's always Kaden, why does my aim suck? Well, I'm here to answer that today, and maybe not the things you're thinking of, but I'm gonna focus on things that people don't really talk about. So the first thing I really want to talk about is comfort. And I'm not saying like how comfortable you are in game, but I'm saying how comfortable you are IRL. Like how comfortable are you sitting in your chair at your desk with your desk height and your seat height, and where your mouse and keyboard is placed and where your mouse pad is too. So when we talk about comfort, what I'm really talking about is where, well, first of all, I want to cover how you're sitting. Posture is one of the most important things when gaming, and if you watch like Pro League and everything at LAN and you see different ways they sit. Someone who I really take inspiration from, or actually two people I really like who have different postures, is first of all Twists, and then second of all Alige. I think they have their posture figured out, how they sit in chair and where they sit. On one end you can see that like Alige will be sitting back kind of like this. What he likes is only his wrists on the table, and that makes him a wrist aimer. And then the more common version is where like people like Twist, where they make sure the table is touching their chest almost, and they have their whole arm on the table, and that gives them the comfort. Then we can talk about like keyboard placement. How angled your keyboard is doesn't make you more of a gamer. It's almost just about personal preference and how angled it is, where it is on your desk. I feel like it's so important to keep it consistent so that your left hand and right hand have good harmony in terms of how comfortable you are, in terms of where your left hand is placed and where your mouse is moving. And then obviously we have probably the more important one, which is where your mouse and mouse pad is. Keyboard, you can change up a bit, like it can move a bit, but with my mouse pad and mouse, I make sure it's always the same. Whatever works for you works, but just make sure that first of all your seat height is correct and your arm is comfortable on your desk. Something to test out actually with your how comfortable you are in terms of where your mouse and arm is just playing AimLab. And why that helps is that at the end of your AimLab run, you'll start to see exactly where you like your mouse to be and where it actually ends up, and how your mouse pad interferes with the rest of your arm, and depending on how it's placed. So in terms of mouse pad, a lot of people have their mouse at the edge of their end of their mouse pad like this. You'll see that a lot because your whole arm here is also on the mouse pad. Personally for me, I have it exactly at this height where my mouse is in the middle. I don't know why, that just works the best for me, and that's what I'm comfortable on. So find out where you're comfortable on first. Next thing is mouse grip for sure. It's so important to have a good mouse grip. I think that a lot of people who have more control over their mouse will play a claw grip. The thing that will give you the most control is having your ring finger and your thumb in the right places so that you can have a good grip over like how controlled your mouse is in terms of movement. And so for mine, I hold it like kind of like this, where you can see the ring finger and thumb are kind of very aligned, like they're in the same place on opposite ends of the mice, and that for me gives me the most control. In terms of like claw grip or palm grip, I feel like if you just use your fingertips here, for me it doesn't really matter. I like to switch it up a bit, but this is my usual mouse grip, and basically you want to keep it consistent. Try not to like change it up too much so that you're comfortable. Find a position on your mouse with your arm where you are comfortable and just use that. So this is my mouse grip and this is what I use. I just find it comfortable. My fingers at the edge of the mouse almost, and these two fingers on the outside just aligned almost near the front of the mouse. It's really important for that. Essentially, when you have all of that figured out, then you're good to go. The next thing we want to focus on is your sense. So personally, I don't think your sense is as important as people say in terms of finding perfect sense and all of that stuff, because a lot of pros actually have different sense in different games and they just adapt to it based on off of what they're playing. Obviously, I try to keep mine consistent though. And over the years I've been lowering my sense quite a lot. So but that's just me. I like low sense now. I feel like you need a good harmony between having the accuracy and having the potential to do 180s and all of that stuff, and just finding your perfect middle of where that works for you, how comfortable your arm is at swinging around, in terms of whether you don't mind it swinging around a lot, which means like low sense, or you can't handle it and then you're more of based off the wrist, which is high sense. But keep in mind, if you're playing on a high sense, at long range it's going to be harder to be more accurate. And I feel like I found the perfect intermediate between a high sense and a low sense for me. So for me, having good aim is more about consistency rather than hitting some insane shots sometimes and being quite terrible most of the time. I think that the best way to get consistency is through having a warm-up routine. Grid shot is definitely something that is really important for consistency, because you have to be quite consistent for a minute. Everyone thinks it's hard to get 100k on grid shot, but it's really not. It's all about consistency and hitting your shots and having a good flow between accuracy and speed. I think this is very underrated, where people go for, you can either go for speed, which is like, I feel like a lot of people will just try and go for speed because they know they have to hit the most targets. But what actually ends up happening is that well, you're just not getting a high score, because even though you're fast, you're not hitting anything. A good way of starting out is very slow, and just make sure you're hitting the balls. Just make sure, like, you can start off slow, but it's important to have rhythm here. You don't want to do like this where you're going slow sometimes and then suddenly you're picking up the pace, because that'll throw you off more than you think. So I feel like for grid shot, it's really important to start off slow, especially at the beginning of the day, and then slowly work your way up to going faster and faster. And what that'll help you do is just create perception in your mind that you're hitting your targets. Well, there's 3 steps to aim. One is recognizing the target is there. Second is flicking there, and then the third is making the minor adjustment, and then the fourth is actually clicking on the head. For me, like, the reason the balls are so big here is because these are quite long flicks, like not easy to hit flicks, but it's good for your aim because it gets your muscle memory up. Yeah, so slower is faster sometimes, in terms of, especially when using the deagle, you want to take time to counter strafe and make sure you hit your shot, because if you miss your first shot, sometimes it'll take longer than if you just spam shots, rather than if you take your time to hit your first shot, like just another split second to make sure your crosshair is on that head. So if we quickly cover sense real quick, I'm not gonna go dive into it because I feel like sense is all about your own like personal preference. But you know you're comfortable on your sense when, first of all, you can track heads like this while moving left and right. You can track heads like this, like while keeping your crosshair on the head. And also, if you close your eyes and do a 180, then you'll have done a perfect 180, and that's how you know you're comfortable on your sense. So keep on just keep on doing that and adjust your sense for that, and then eventually you'll find a good sense for you, depending on, just like keep on playing pretty much, and you'll find what works for you over time. When we talk about people saying, oh my god, this guy makes the game looks so easy, we talk about crosshair placement. In Valorant, 10 says to do well in ranked games, all you really need is good util usage, good team comms, and crosshair placement, not necessarily raw aim. When we talk about crosshair placement, we're talking about how well you know the map, and map knowledge and game sense just comes from playing the game more. It's all about thinking about where the guy's gonna be and then peeking into him, and then your crosshair will already be on his head without you having to adjust. Just getting ready for like common spots like this where you can just peek into the guy, not having to move your crosshair that much, and just knowing where they are and having your crosshair closer to where they're standing will make you so much better in game. Apart from that, like, just DM. Sleep is really, or something very underrated is sleep. Sometimes your brain will be really tired and won't register people swinging you as fast, or your reaction time will be slower, or your whole muscle memory of how your brain works with your hand won't be as good. So most of the time, if you're just tired, then take a break. I wouldn't burn out too much, but make sure that you're consistent. Consistency is pretty much the key to aim, and just warming up every day, and you'll find there's a big difference in your aim over time. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me. If you have any questions about specific types of aiming or why my aim shakes so much, you can drop by and ask, or you can ask below in the comments. And that's pretty much it from me. Just make sure you're doing all of these things right, and over time your aim will become better. A lot of people talk about like natural talent in FPS. Sure, that could be a thing. Personally, I don't really believe in that. I believe that practice makes perfect, and even if you're bad starting off, I feel like you can get really good just by practicing. So keep your mind to it, and I believe you will make it to where you want to be one day.